Holy and everlasting God, we give you thanks for this day, for the opportunity we've had to come and worship you as we gather here in this place. May you strengthen us in our faith. May you guide us in all that we do. May we feel your eternal presence while we're here. And when we leave, may you speak to us in the word and music and song and prayer and fellowship with one another, so that we might be prepared to serve you in all things. Be with us now and always. Amen. If you've ever heard the term lovable loser, you probably know Charlie Brown. Charlie is often thought as that lovable loser, that every person who, well, is meek, gentle, innocent, polite. He's the kind-hearted child who always means well and cares deeply about his friends and family. But he's often victimized and abused and bullied by the other characters. I mean, he's usually the one who gets blamed for anything when something goes wrong, even though it's not necessarily his fault. Normally, when we think of Charlie in the comic strip, he's associated with defeat and failure. Maybe it's his kite stuck up in the tree, or Lucy pulling the football away at just the last second so he ends up flat on his back. Maybe it's him taking his little Christmas tree to the pageant and everybody looking at it and laughing. Maybe it's his, well, somewhat futile crush, you might say, on a little redhead girl who doesn't even seem to know he exists. Or maybe it's just Charlie standing out on the pitcher's mound all by himself as the rain falls on top of him. Charles Schulz once said of Charlie Brown that Charlie must be the one who suffers because he is a caricature of the average person. Most of us are much more acquainted with losing than winning. I mean, take this scene from the scripts. Charlie is speaking. 9 home runs in a row. Good grief, what can I do? We're getting slaughtered against Schroeder. I don't know what to do. Why, oh why, do we have to suffer like this? To which Schroeder responds, man is born to trouble as the sparks fly upward. What, says Charlie? Linus says, he's quoting from the book of Job, Charlie Brown, 7th verse, 5th chapter. Actually, the problem of suffering is a very profound one, and Lucy interrupts, saying, if a person has bad luck, it's because they've done something wrong. That's what I always say. Schroeder says, well, that's what Job's friends told him, but I doubt it. Lucy says, but wait a minute. What about Job's wife? I don't think she gets enough credit. Schroeder says, I think a person who never suffers never matures. Suffering is actually very important. Lucy responds, suffer? Who wants to suffer? Don't be ridiculous. Schroeder says, but pain is a part of life, and Linus chimes in. A person who speaks only of patience of Job reveals that he knows very little of the book. Now, the way I see it, to which Charlie Brown loudly exclaims, good grief, I don't have a baseball team. No wonder we're losing. I have a theological seminary. Well, Charlie Brown, like most of us, I suspect, sometimes asks that question, why, God? Why? Why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this trouble? Why is the rain seemingly only falling on me and nobody else? One time Charlie was laying in bed and sort of looking up at the ceiling, and he said, sometimes I lay here awake at night and I ask why. Then a voice answers, nothing personal, your name just happened to come up. Ever feel like that? Like somebody out there's got your name on a list and apparently their finger keeps falling on it more often than not. Well, in the Old Testament, there's a guy named Job who really in some ways make Charlie Brown's troubles look like a walk in the park. I mean, it's worse than a pulled out football and a kite stuck in the tree. Now, Job, when he's first introduced, he is seen as the poster boy for righteousness. He's rich, he's wealthy, has a big family. He is blameless, we're told, a man of complete integrity who feared God and stayed away from evil. He had it made, he was blessed. And then there came a day when a servant arrives telling him that his enemies have raided the farm, they've stolen all the oxen and donkeys, and they've killed all the farm hands. As he's reeling from that, someone else shows up. The messenger says, you'll never believe what just happened, boss. Fire fell from the sky and burned up your sheep and shepherds. Third guy arrives on the scene to inform Job that all his camels have been stolen by the raiders from the north, And just when you think you couldn't get any worse, a fourth messenger shows up to tell his boss that a powerful wind hit the house where his children were celebrating with their eldest brothers, and there are no survivors. All 10 have died. At this point, Job breaks down in grief. But here's what he says. I came naked from the mother's womb, and naked I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I be. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. Even at this point, he is still trying to be the righteous man. And then the tables turn again, and rather than somewhat outward tragedies, they begin to happen to him directly. He is covered from head to toe with boils. Physically, he is hurting. Physically, he is in pain. He turns to his wife for comfort. His wife says these comforting words. Are you still trying to maintain your integrity, Job? Why don't you just curse God and die? You can almost hear Job saying to his wife, well, thanks, babe. I love you too. Thanks. And then his friends. I mean, we all like friends, right? We all turn to our friends in times of need. Well, he has some friends who show up, and they try to talk to him. And they really don't start out all that bad. But eventually, what they end up saying to him is, Job, it's all your fault. You think you've been leading a good life, you think you've been doing everything right, but somewhere, you had to do something to deserve this. So they weren't exactly much comfort or help. So there we are. We're stuck with this issue. Why is it that our kite always ends up getting stuck in a tree? Why is it the football always seems to move just when we hit? Why is it that we suffer? Well, I want to offer you a couple things to think about today. Now, I'm not going to promise you that when you walk out here, you're going to know the answer to suffering, but I do hope that you have at least some understanding or some things to chew on and think about. The first is simply this, and I will tell you right up front, this is probably not the answer you want to hear, okay? Stuff happens. Stuff happens. If you remember the human race, if you are a living, breathing creature, stuff happens. Troubles occur. You just can't get around that. We live in a sinful and fallen world that has been corrupted by evil, and because of that, bad things happen. I mean, that's really the essence of the whole quote that Schroeder was making to Charlie Brown. People are born for trouble as readily as sparks fly up from a fire. Anybody ever try to stop sparks flying up from a fire? It's impossible. What that line in Job is trying to say is there's a simple reality to the world in which we live. Stuff happens. And sometimes that means bad things happen. And bad things happen to all kinds of people. I would love to be able to tell you that the day you were baptized and believed in Jesus, you were exempted from ever suffering again. I would be lying to you if I told you that. The book of James says it this way in chapter 1. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider an opportunity for great joy. Did you catch that? He didn't say if. He didn't say maybe it'll happen. He says when troubles. James realized when he wrote those words with the presence of God in his heart a long time ago that we live in a world where stuff happens. Good things happen, but unfortunately also bad things happen. C.S. Lewis said it this way, the famous Christian writer. We were promised sufferings. They're part of the program. We were even told things like, blessed are they that mourn. No, it isn't fair. Life isn't fair at times. We live in a world that is corrupted by sin. We live in a world that is fallen. And so the simple reality is that sometimes stuff happens. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. The second thing to remember is this. Don't take it personally. I mean, sometimes we do just what Charlie Brown did. We lay in the bed, look at the heavens, and I admit I'm as guilty of this as anybody else, and we say, why me, oh God? What have I done? Where have I messed up? What are the reasons for this happening in my life? Well, Job didn't do anything wrong. There was no hidden sin in his life. He wasn't rebelling against God. We need to realize that sometimes things happen to the just and the unjust. It may sound a little cynical, but even Jesus said, "For he that is God gives his sunlight to both evil and good. He sends rain on the just and the unjust alike." I mean, right now it's raining outside, and I don't care how good you are, unless you got an umbrella over your head, when you walk out there, you're going to get wet. Don't take it personally. I mean, oftentimes we focus on our problems to the exclusion of everything else and everyone else. We need to remember that we aren't alone in the world, and chances are that no matter how tough our situation is, there's probably those out there with bigger problems than ours. Now, that doesn't lessen your pain and suffering. It's not meant to. But it's to help you to understand that we are all in this together. Remember that great movie, Casablanca? Humphrey Bogart's character, Rick? There's a time in there, where people are talking about all the stuff going on, and he gives this wonderful line. He says, everybody in Casablanca has problems. As if to say to the person he's talking to, look, you got problems, I got problems, everybody's got problems. Don't take it personally. God is not out to get you. That's not why you're experiencing whatever's going on. Third thing is this. It's not wrong to question. It's not wrong to question. Now, more often than not, if you hear about the story of Job, even if you only know a little bit, the part that often gets mentioned is, the patience of Job. He was patient. He was patient. You know what? If you actually go through and read the whole book, you'll discover that while he may have been patient at some points, he also had a lot of questions. And he spent a lot of time asking, why God? Why? Why is this happening? Sometimes we just read the beginning of the story, we stay out at the end. He questions God. Why is this happening? He reaches a point where he just says, God, I got to know. There's nothing wrong with asking why. Throughout the Bible, people question God. Abraham got a call by God and said, go to another land. He says, why me? Moses got called to be a leader, and he said, why me? I can't speak. I can't lead. Joshua was asked to be at the front of the battlefield and be the one to take them into the land of Israel. And Joshua says, why me? David said, why me? I'm just a little shepherd boy. God said, but you're the one. Isaiah said, hey, I'm a guy of unclean lips. Why do you want me to be your prophet? Peter said, why me? I'm just a fisherman. I can't speak. I can't teach. I can't lead. Paul said, Jesus, why are you calling me? I was putting your people to death. And you know what? Even Jesus, when he was hanging on the cross, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he looked at the heavens and he said, Father, I don't understand why this is going on. Why me? Now, the catch is, if you're going to ask God why, if you're going to ask God questions, we have to be prepared to hear the answer. Sometimes the answers we get back are tough. Sometimes the answers we get back don't satisfy. Sometimes the answer that we hear may not be the answer that we want to hear. God told Job in 38:2, who is this that questions my wisdom with such words? It's not wrong to question, but we need to be willing to hear the answer when it comes. The final thing I want to leave you with is simply this. We have the victory. If you flip to the end of the book, we know the outcome. We win. We win. No matter what this sinful and fallen world may bring our way, we win. When we are faithful to God in good times and in bad times, we are the victors. I had to sneak that in there. We are the winners. We have victory. I mean, listen to what Paul wrote in Romans, where the Christians were being killed for the sheer sport of it. Can anything ever separate us from Christ's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble or calamity or are persecuted or hungry or destitute or in danger or threatened with death? No, despite all these things, overwhelming victory is ours through Christ who loves us. So, where are you at? Do you sometimes find it tough to be faithful, to believe in victory? Life is tough. Stuff happens. It's the world in which we live. But God is there for us. I don't know what you're going through right now, but God knows what's in your heart. God knows what's troubling your spirit. And the message of the word I would leave you with today is simply this. Don't quit. Don't give up. The victory is already been won. hold fast, lean on God, lean on one another, and we can face whatever comes our way. Thanks be to God.